I lost my mind, chasing the feelings in the hills at night. City of angels, but it hurts sometimes. I lost my mind. Oops. Chasing the feelings in the hills at night. Finally made it, but it don't feel right. Don't feel like I thought it would. Good stuff. Welcome to the Guy and Harley podcast. My name's Harley Neville.
And I'm Guy Pigden. Who was that? Was so rudely interrupted by your echo.
That was Ian Dior featuring MGK, aka Machine Gun Kelly, and Travis Barker of Blink-182 fame, who is now the more famous member of Blink-182, despite being the drummer. That's kind of interesting, kind of unique.
You know what's disturbing? Machine Gun Kelly. Now
I don't mind this kid. I don't mind this kid.
He had this feud with Eminem for a while.
And that's what blew him up real huge.
And, you know, then he sort of backed out of that. And then he started dating Megan Fox.
Yeah.
And
bloody good on him.
And stole... who was that guy that was with Megan Fox before? He had a kid with her. He's just an honest man from Beverly Hills 90210 or something. Yeah, what is his name now? I can't remember now, but he seemed like he was basically he had hot partner. He was suffering from hot partner syndrome.
Yeah,
and you know, you and I can relate to this, Harley. We suffer from hot partner syndrome.
All right, it's a curse,
which is basically like they're dating someone way hotter than them. That's way out of their league, and everyone is aware of it. Like, everyone is aware.
They walk in
the
see
circle,
you.
They see you, they see the girl, and they go, ooh, I'm sorry to her. Oh, I'm sorry about that. And so essentially what happens is there's this spectre hanging over everything you do, right? There's this spectre hanging over everything you do, and this thing where you know that essentially you're with someone that looks too good to be with you. And no matter what you do, you can't shake the feeling that when you walk into a room, everyone sees you as lesser than her. And also, and this is the biggie, and this is also a little bit frustrating, everyone in the room wants to fuck her. But that's not, doesn't go the same way. They don't all want to fuck you. But they definitely want to fuck.
They're more like fuck you.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, who is this arsehole and why is he with this beautiful woman? And so essentially what happens is...
It's a curse, mate. It's a curse.
The hot partner syndrome, you see. And so what happens is eventually you're waiting for the penny to drop, which is basically when she goes...
Wait a minute.
Wait a second.
I'm way better than this
I'm too hot for you. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how many flowers you get me or children you have with me or thoughtful things you do for me. Ultimately, I'm just too good looking to be with you. And therefore, I have to throw you away and get someone more good looking than you. And continue on. And we see this cycle time and time again in Hollywood and in celebrity where this happens. And essentially, who was the guy? Did we find out?
Shia LaBeouf.
No.
That's what he is. That's what he's...
Before him.
Yeah. Brian Austin Green.
There we go. Brian Austin Green.
I never heard of this bum.
Beverly Hills 90210.
What's that?
Come on. So Brian Austin Green was the first person to be with Megan Fox, right? And, you know, he's not a bad...
I doubt he was the first.
But he was the first, like, as in the serious long-term relationship with her. And married her and all that other thing. And essentially he had this too hot partner syndrome, and he suffered from this affliction because she was the object of everyone's desires. You know, she was known as the sex bomb around town. And, you know, he's like, come on, guys, that's my wife we're talking about.
That's my girl, dog.
That's my wife. I had a child with this person. You really think that she's just going to toss me away one day and move on to someone half my age with fucking tattoos, some like little hipster fucking turd called Machine Gun Kelly?
Well,
there's no chance that it's happening.
Life's cruel.
There's no way that's happening. Well, it happened to him. And unfortunately, you know, the penny did drop for him. and he's now had to suffer through. Apparently, I just read some article about essentially the idea that Machine Gun Kelly got them rings, right? These engagement rings or wedding rings that clamped onto around your finger. So if you tried to pull them off, they would extract blood because that was the blood, the toll it would take to break this bond.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, that's stupid. Only a pretentious hipster asshole would ever consider putting this dumb shit ring on someone.
Well, you definitely whipped as fuck. At minimum, you whipped as fuck.
Who?
Both of you. You're putting the ring on so hard that you've actually got to physically hurt yourself to take it off. What if you want to wash your hands?
Hey,
What if you're cooking fucking dinner and you've got to wash your hands?
Can't do it.
You want to take it off, put it up on the mantle there and up on the windowsill and wash your hands.
What if you want?
There's COVID. We're encouraging people to wash their hands. You've got to get under the ring.
What if you want
Get under the ring, people.
work on your ring finger tan line?
Exactly.
So anyway, that was just one thing. I don't know if that's true, but it sounds like exactly the type of dumb fucking thing that he would do.
Yeah.
Machine Gun Kelly.
I'm all right with this Machine Gun Kelly. His music's pretty good. Got lots of good catchy songs, and I liked his anti-Eminem diss song. Like I recognize that Eminem's retort was more technically impressive and all of that stuff, but I still liked MGK's song. I was like, this is a good song. I'm feeling this.
I didn't mind it. I just thought that it was just sort of barking up the wrong tree. But also, it's like, man, you are Eminem. So you can't diss Eminem because without Eminem, there would be no you.
Yeah.
And in fact, who's the other guy that is exactly the same as Machine Gun Kelly but started earlier and is arguably more talented? He does that same sort of Western sort of
Yellow Wolf?
Yeah. So essentially, Machine Gun Kelly is a clone of a clone.
Yeah.
So there was obviously Eminem, the forefather of white hip hop. And then, you have Yellow Wolf.
Yeah.
And then you have the spin-off of the spin-off, MGK.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I don't mind him. And a lot of his songs are actually like pop punk anyway. So he does both. He does them both pretty well. And a lot of it is pop punk stuff where he's not actually rapping, but he'll have rappers on his tracks, like mumble rappers and SoundCloud rappers and shit. It's fucking cool, guys. It's real cool. He's a cool dude.
It's as cool as Facebook, the premier social media network that we use.
Yeah, Facebook's pretty cool too. Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. So the other day, I saw you rewatching I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. That was a surprise to me, and I haven't sat down and watched it in full for quite a while. And so, how was that as a rewatching?
Yeah, so...
How was that rewatching it after... When was the last time you watched it?
So the last time I watched it in full would have been several years ago. In fact, probably it would have been about 4 years ago. 4.5 years ago, when I watched it with my girlfriend once removed. My new girlfriend wanted to watch it. So I watch it every time I get a new girlfriend.
Yeah, that's...
I rewatch all my movies when I get a new partner.
Yeah.
Because they're curious and they want to know.
Okay.
And I seem like a big shot, so that's when I rewatch it with them. Yeah, so
bust it out.
Yeah, flex on them.
Yeah.
So I did watch it. I actually started watching it a little bit when I had to export out like a piece of it for something or something like that recently, and I actually kind of got sucked in. I got sucked into the story, and I watched I was meant to just be working it for like a minute, and I ended up watching like 15, 20 minutes. But I did rewatch it, and my thoughts upon a rewatch was that I'm a really talented motherfucker.
I'm so good.
I'm really good at this. I'm really good at what I do. And so, my big takeaway was, why have people not acknowledged my greatness?
Yeah.
Why have the New Zealand Film Commission turned a blind eye to my greatness?
Why is that?
Why did they ignore this great thing that I did, right? And kick me to the curb. Put me in the director's graveyard with 99% of other New Zealand directors. Why do they put me in the graveyard? I should be up top with PJ and Power of the Dog and all that sort of thing.
Well, you will be, mate. You will be. You just got to keep on plugging
doing
away.
It.
Yeah.
So that was my first reaction. No, it's not a perfect film. I'm not going to say it was a perfect film. I'm not going to say there wasn't things I couldn't do better. But I guess on reflecting on it when I watched it this time, when I watch it by myself, I think of the pain and the heartache of making it. I think of the grueling nights and the pee-addicted gaffers going rogue and starting a crew mutiny. And I think about...
Sure, they were pee addicted.
Well, they were pee addicted.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was one of the big things.
Yeah?
Yeah. That was like one of the things was that...
I didn't hear that one.
You did not hear that at all?
No.
Oh, that was like one of the big things was that his behavior was like wildly erratic. He was up till 4 a.m. every night.
Yeah.
1 minute he was like, yep, that's great. Everything's working. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And the rest was like, fuck you all. Fuck you.
Is this the one that left halfway through?
Yeah, this is the one that left halfway through.
Yeah. Because I can't remember what it was, but I think I thought that he was upset about going over time.
He was upset about that.
Yeah.
But his mood was not helped by the copious amounts of pee that he was doing at the time either.
Yeah.
And so that was, look, obviously this is rumor and innuendo. I mean, I can't confirm 100%. I didn't see him doing lines.
Yeah, doing lines of pee.
Or smoking.
Or snorting lines of methamphetamine.
Sorry, smoking, taking a hit off the pipe.
Yeah.
Whatever the case, right? But what I can confirm is that there was a lot of people that said this is the issue with him.
Yeah.
And this is what, has been going on behind closed doors. And this is actually something that he has a reputation for in his hometown of Christchurch.
Right. Christchurch, eh?
Christchurch.
It's always Christchurch.
It is always Christchurch.
Always Christchurch.
I think of those. I think of the 18-hour days. I think of the crew looking at me with disdain and disgust. Disgust as I ask them to go an extra half hour.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the last day on set where it's meant to be like, hey, we did it, guys, like high fives all around. I come an hour early to set because I get it wrong because of daylight savings. I lie on a couch half watching MacGyver, waiting for everyone to arrive. I think it's going to be a piece of cake easy day because we got like one of the least amount of setups to do and it's not out in the forest or anything. It ends up taking forever. Everything goes wrong. We end up finishing late. And then we have nibbles and stuff for the crew afterwards. And no one's like, yeah, we did it, guys. Everyone's like, ugh, fuck this. And I was just like, this is not exactly the triumphant, jubilant celebration that I imagined at the end of this shoot. I don't even think you were there. I think you'd left.
Well, no, I was up the road at the pub, mate.
Well,
because what happened was on that last day, it was I had my scenes as well.
That's what I'm saying. You finished early.
Yeah, but it still wasn't really it was much longer than expected for me as well because we were behind or whatever. And then, but it wasn't that much longer after I finished that you guys came along to the bar, and it wasn't so bad. It wasn't such a bad party. I think everyone was just feeling really fucked. I was feeling
very tired,
really
very
fucked,
tired.
It was
very tiring shoot.
I was having fun and it was a nice enough party, but it was like, oh my gosh, after all that, you're just so rooted.
I was just kind of waiting for the speech.
Yeah.
Hey, we'd just let's all give a big hand to Guy Pigden.
Yeah. And what there was
fearless leader, and
there was none of that.
Oh, absolutely not. And I remember, obviously, when some other people left, we're like, "Hey, thanks to this actor, you did an amazing job. You're awesome.
Yeah,
thank you very much." And it wasn't even that I was necessarily expecting someone to everyone does single out, hey Guy, let's give him a pat on the back for all his hard work. I wasn't really expecting that, but I was just kind of expecting the mood to be really up and the energy to be really good. And it was just, everyone was just like, oh God.
Yeah.
Just having a bite of nibbles. Didn't even eat all the nibbles. The nibbles were not finished that night. And everyone, everyone was just totally fucking knackered.
Because I remember it being a long day, but not being such a hard day because it was indoors. Not so grueling as the other one. So it was just long and slow, but not the worst day. And then the party. The party was all right.
There was all sorts of problems with the dolly track. So the dolly track with these long pipes, and basically we had this long tracking shot along a hallway. But the problem was that you kept seeing the pipes because once you move past a certain pipe, there'd just be the pipes there, and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the pipes would be uneven, so you'd be trying to get this nice smooth track, the thing would bump. Then there was a big issue with one of the zombies, couldn't get the zombie contact in his eye. It took like an extra hour to get one. He got one in, but we needed them both in.
Yeah, that took ages.
And that was a big delay. And it was just kind of like one of those things where it's like, it's just 3 or 4 shots. Why is this taking so long? And it's just one of those things that often, you know, look, this the filmmaking gods. When you think something is going to be done really quick, it might take the longest thing ever. It's just one of the things. Sometimes you think something's going to be easy, it will be really hard because the filmmaking gods want to go, hey, motherfucker, don't think you can get away too lightly here.
Don't get penisy, kid.
Yeah, that's great, kid. Don't get penisy. And so there was that. And so I just think about those things. I think about like some of the crazy stuff we did up here to shoot pickups and just the time and the everyday, the this and the that, right? When I watch it with someone else and I see them laughing and having a good time, all of that stuff melts away. That's good. And I'm just watching it, and I was just watching it as a movie, and I was like, fuck, man, this is a funny movie. This is a really well-written script, probably the best script I've ever written. You know, too bad I wrote it over a decade ago. Wish I could write something else that good. And so that was my sort of thought. When I watched it, I was like, oh, I feel like fundamentally it's not a perfect film, but it works. It works. And I'm really like, you know, I'm very happy with your performance in it. I'm very happy with a lot of the different characters that we did. I'm very happy with even the way that a lot of the stuff we ended up filming, how it came out, how it looked. I wish we had a slightly better camera, but we had what we had, you know? And even like
And what was that one shot on?
It was shot on the Panasonic AF102B, I think. Which was like revolutionary at the time because it was one of the first cameras with an interchangeable lens mount that was digital. This is back in 2011, you have to remember. It was a whole different world back then. This was before the DSLR revolution. This is before the Canon 5D Mark II. And essentially we had some very nice lenses on a very shitty camera. And so I always feel like the DOP was really compromised by the fact that he didn't have the latitude and dynamic range to accommodate, like, essentially, we're in a forest, there's shafts of light everywhere, all this sort of thing. Obviously, this is always going to be some type of limitation, but for him particularly, it was like the difference between something being properly exposed and something being completely overexposed was just a tiny fraction. And so that just made his life incredibly difficult. And then subsequently our life incredibly difficult because it was like, cue smoke. And we waft the smoke in.
And it'll blow everything out.
Smoke is reflecting the light, which is now overexposing the whole scene, so it's unusable. Let's wait for the smoke to die down. Okay, action. Oh, all the smoke's gone. You know, so there was a lot of...
Jenny up!
Kill the Jenny! So there was a lot of stuff like that, but you know my big takeaway was like, fuck, this is a pretty good fucking film, and I really think it's a really cool low budget zombie horror comedy, one of the best, and we should put some respect on our name, is what I thought. Put some motherfucking respect on our name. Now maybe I'm coming off very arrogant saying all this stuff, but I stand by it. And I stand by it as someone that was like, maybe it was just a piece of shit, you know? But when I re-look back at it, I'm like, nah, you guys are the pieces of shit. you, the general audience, the public.
Who didn't appreciate
it.
My brilliance.
We're awesome. We're great. You guys are the pieces of shit. Am I wrong? No. It's the children who watched the film who are wrong.
It's the viewers who are wrong.
So that was my general takeaway. But it was actually really fun to rewatch it under the lens of someone. And in fact, I just got a message from my girlfriend. She was like, I'm just laughing at the guy. I'm laughing at work. My co-workers are looking at me. I'm just laughing about the guy that killed all the extras and then killed himself.
Lols.
Yeah.
That is a great scene.
And then she
That's
was
one
also,
of my favorite
and then
scenes.
she was like, oh my God. Oh, the zombie penis. Oh, I have to get that out of my head. Oh, it was so broken.
Nice.
And it was just, I don't know, it just was hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a zombie penis. Oh. So that was good stuff. So I enjoyed watching it with a new audience.
Well,
Yeah. So now you've got to do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's way more meaningful.
I haven't done it
because at the end of the day, it's
with She Who Shall Be Named. I haven't watched it with her yet.
Because I'm the director, but at the end of the day, no one remembers. Who is the director of all those Will Smith movies? You don't remember, but you do remember who Will Smith is.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So you're front and center on that one. Oh,
Yep.
she also did find it hilarious, all the jokes we made about your cocksock falling off.
That's good. That's actually when I walked in the room when you guys were watching that scene.
Yeah. So
there I was, naked on the screen and standing in your lounge, also naked. It's kind of awkward for her.
Cocksock falling off again.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was always good because I always really liked those jokes, but they didn't necessarily get that many laughs. It was interesting to see what translates.
Yeah.
Because my girlfriend is not from here.
Yeah.
And so, her what she finds amusing is not what necessarily we might find amusing, or some of the physical pratfalls, shall we say, she finds really funny.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the other thing is that maybe she is actually the perfect audience. And again, it's all you dumb motherfuckers. Okay? You dumb motherfuckers didn't get it.
Dear listener.
That's why you didn't laugh.
To be fair.
That's why when you sat opposite me with your hands like this, like you're a fucking big shot, like you're a fucking king shit with your arms folded like this. Trying to frown harder at every single joke. Like, I can't let a little laugh poke out because this is tall poppy syndrome at its finest.
To be fair, I feel like our audience, the Guy and Harley podcast, a fair amount of them will have actually seen it.
Yeah, I'm not shouting at the
listeners directly.
I'm not shouting at.
No, you guys are. He is yelling at you guys.
No, I'm not shouting at the obviously the
general public.
150. I'm shouting at the general public and the New Zealand film community. In general, but certainly never to our fans, because our fans are the reason that we're here today.
It's true. All 5 of them on the live stream.
Yeah, so
shout out to our listeners. Shout out to Aaron Falvey, aka Falvation Films, on the live stream as well, because he's tuning in.
Also to their film North Spur for getting distribution.
Good film. We've both seen it. We went to a screening of it.
Greatly enjoyed it.
We were very lucky to be invited along to a screening of it. And so, bloody good work. Bloody good on you, Aaron. Standing by for my audition, sir.
Yeah, well, that's true, Aaron, because, you do have a new film about to be, I believe they're going to production later this year. Feature film.
Oh, yeah?
So he's right here.
Standing by for my opportunity to audition, sir.
He's right here. Could have another
Can travel.
lead actor.
Yep.
Harley Neville was the lead in I Survived Zombie Holocaust, so
Ghost TV. Let's not forget Ghost TV. Lead actor in Ghost TV.
Never forget. That's just something to put out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what was it that you would because you said there was you're like, well, it's pretty good. It's really good. But it's like, what was the thing that you were like, if there was one thing that you would change on I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, what's that going to be? What was the problem?
For me, an
achievable change.
It always seems different when you watch it with different audiences. So I watched it with an audience who was like laughing at the jokes. And so I always think of it as the opening third of the film is not too slow. I'll grab one. Thanks, mate. The opening third of the film is not too slow. I wouldn't say the pacing was wrong. It's like the kinetic way that it was filmed is wrong. So essentially what I had the idea when we were filming it is that, or before we filmed it, I guess, is that essentially Wesley is brought into this bustling film set with like people like lifting gaffer gear over him, and he ducks underneath a light, and someone swings a boom pole and almost catches him in the head, and he sees all the main characters, and it's kind of like really just one continuous shot. And this kind of introduces everyone in like a cool, interesting way. And we also see this world. Now, unfortunately, due to the budget, we couldn't...
Budgetary restrictions.
We with the budgetary restrictions. We couldn't really do any of that. The tracking shots were slow because the Steadicam operator couldn't move really quickly because, it was like these muddy banks and stuff.
Yeah.
And also just like actually to have a super athletic Steadicam operator is actually a whole other thing you need. Like most Steadicam operators just move slowly one way, move slowly the other way, very smoothly. That's what they do. They don't sprint through all this stuff. The other problem was just a problem the whole way through was that we couldn't wrangle the extras that we had, and we didn't have enough extras, but we couldn't wrangle the extras to do what I wanted them to do. There was always a disconnect. I was like, so I want an extra here. We want all this bustling, the busyness. And then they go, all right, action. And they'd all stand in one corner looking off to the side.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, where's the movement? We can't even see. There's 5 extras in the background. We can't even see them.
Yeah.
Have you looked at the frame?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that. And I think that what I would love, and I do think it was achievable, had those things were a little bit better managed. And also we had split up so many different locations just because, again, what we had is like, obviously, I wanted us to lead right into a film set. Unfortunately, the film set was a piece of tin, a 2-meter piece of tin that had been driven out on a four-wheeler that you walk around the corner of, which says 2 set.
Yeah.
Because there was no film set there. And it's stuff like that where it's like...
It was meant to be a big giant barn that you could see from the outside.
And then you kind of walk in and out. And same, like, this trajectory of walking through to all these places, the idea being that you could establish that geography for later.
Yeah.
And it just never really happened. So for me, if I could do it better, I could have a do-over, it would be that first section really getting it the way that I wanted with all those things happening to you as, and like, there's no slow moments because it's just like, do this. Mm-hmm. Hey, what? You're pulled off in another direction. And we just never quite got that pace up. And part of that is the way that we had to shoot it. And also part of that is like the rhythm of it because we didn't shoot it the way I wanted to. We just shot it more generically and traditionally. And so we couldn't keep that everything going a million miles per hour. Because also the other thing about actors, which you have to realize is all actors, if given the opportunity, will slow it down. They will give themselves a lot of time to deliver everything because this is their moment and we want to get across all their great acting. So they're going to take as much time as possible. So, again, there's this whole thing that the only direction George Lucas would give on Star Wars was faster and more intense. And everyone criticizes him for that. And it's like, well, no, that's fucking great advice because essentially that's the big problem is that when you get in a scene and you're acting opposite someone, you're acting, you're doing your acting, and you really want to take your time. You want that moment? You want this moment? That's a great point, Harley. I see. Yeah. Yes. I'm listening to you before I reply. When really it should just be, because in real life, that's really what it is. And so, and that's not a criticism of like, that's just how it happens. And then you speed up and you speed up and you speed up until everyone is doing it faster and more intense. So really what we're saying is George Lucas, I'm not sure it was ever in question, but he's actually the greatest actor's director in the history of directing with the greatest piece of advice that any director could give to any actor. Faster. More intense.
All right. I thought my performance was reasonably fast and intense.
Well, I wasn't really specifically speaking about you.
Yeah.
Because also you're reacting to a lot of people in that scene. So it's those other people. And it's not even, like I said, it's not necessarily that they're going too slow. It's just that the whole rhythm should be faster. The camera should be moving faster. We should be talking faster. The joke should be coming at 1,000,000 miles a second. And so if I could change anything, that's what it would be.
Well, my experience of the show was, of the shoot was a A little different
A
than
little
yours,
different than
really.
yours.
Mine was pretty good.
Scoffing lollies.
Scoffing lollies.
Flirting with extras.
Maybe sometimes.
Being the toast of the town.
Yeah.
Oh, I just love Wesley. We just love him. He's so adorable. He's just so adorable. We're just rooting for him. Was the remarks made
It's
by
good. That's what you want.
the makeup people, and in fact, I remember a story. It was someone that you were seeing at the time came on set to be a zombie, and there was hate directed at this person,
Yeah.
because of the love and reverence everyone had for you.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, who's this motherfucking bitch coming up in here? My Wesley? Really? You're going to be putting hands on my Wesley?
Yeah.
And so there was definitely a underlying...
Accurate. It's all accurate.
There was an underlying sort of anti-partner sentiment.
Yeah.
Because you were held in such high regard. And particularly your character, people fell in love with the character. They didn't know the real you. If they did...
Harley, so.
If they knew
Take or leave
you,
'em.
totally different, but it was the character they fell in love with.
Yeah.
So, it is way different when you're don't get me wrong, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of, there's absolutely a lot of pressure and things that you have to think about and working on. And I really think, especially if you're the lead in a zombie film, it's the energy. It's having enough energy to get you through all these days of these super intense, physically intense shoots, and having the energy to be scared, to be exhilarated, to be, maintain that comedic timing, all of those things. So there's definitely a lot to think about, but trust me, it's way fucking better than being the director.
Oh, no, I believe you. Yeah, for sure.
Trust me.
I believe you. Yeah. No, it was a very good experience for me. It was really the pinnacle after all that time of like making movies and sort of chasing this dream in high school. And then here it is, living the dream, employing our friends. I'm the lead actor. You're the writer director. There's all these people around.
Art director is...
hometown heroes. We've come back home after years away, and now we've returned triumphantly. We left a couple of losers, and then we went to the capital, and then we come back 5 years later, and suddenly we've got what did we decide it was? The second film commission feature film ever shot in Dunedin, or something. What was it?
And the last film commission film shot in Dunedin in over a decade.
Was it?
Yeah, at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, so we were back and we were putting Dunedin on the map, our hometown.
Yeah,
I was at the heart of all that, so it was cool.
That's the other thing that
great experience.
That's the other thing that irks me.
Yeah,
there's no statues to us in Dunedin right now.
Well, not yet, mate. We've got to make another movie.
But I just feel like it's
Jermaine and Brett don't have statues yet.
Well, don't they?
I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of.
Well, yeah, I feel like this is a full Dunedin tribute. I mean, we base an entire scene in South Dunedin.
Yeah.
On the mean streets of South Dunedin.
Mm-hmm. Nothing happened on set that day because I had spoken to my people and kept the streets quiet for us that day.
The streets were watching. Yeah. And they remained quiet.
They remained quiet out of respect for me. Because that's my hood, South D.
So, so it was cool, and it was like a... but yeah, it's not talked about like Scarface is talked about. And I have a problem with that.
Not yet, mate. See, what's going to happen is we're going to get the rights back soon.
Yep.
And we're going to start a new, it'll pick up new momentum now that we'll have it, and it'll make its way towards its inevitable end, which is cult classic.
Yeah.
It's going to be a cult classic. It just takes a little bit of time.
Yeah.
I have shared that in the chat. The link in the chat. So if you want to go and check out I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, I've linked to the trailer, and then there's links from there to buy it and watch it and check it out. So do check that out, I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. We also recently sold a Blu-ray of older. Somebody just requested one, so this is getting sent out to oops, let's go. Hey! This is getting sent out to one lucky viewer. So if you guys want one, how many more of these we got?
2.
There you go, people. You heard it here. 2, and we will sign it as well. So you slide into our DMs. PayPal is a good way. And what's the PayPal we want to give them? Your one.
Yep. So it'll be gpigville@gmail.com. But you can just get in touch. We'll get it all sorted. From modest sum.
Yeah.
Maybe too modest because I keep getting the postage wrong.
Yeah. It sucks. The postage is a bit of a killer.
The postage, if we send this overseas,
Yeah.
is more than the cost of the Blu-ray.
Oh yeah. What's the going rate on one of these? What are we selling one of these for?
Well, I think we're selling them for
Considering there's only 3 in existence, and this is a
well, we
Blu-ray,
better say $30 then.
$30 each. There you go.
That's 30 New Zealand dollars.
This is our second feature film, Older. So make sure you go check that
with
out.
special director's commentary and deleted scenes.
Yep, all on Blu-ray, and there's only 3 more in existence that are unsold.
2 more.
Well,
So
yeah,
that's the
true.
third one.
That one's gone. Yeah. So there you go.
Think about
There
it.
you go. Think about it. I bought a new computer chair.
Oh, yeah?
Just before the financial year ended, I decided to
Titanami?
splash out. I was like, all right, I better get a new computer chair. It is worse than my old one, it would seem.
It's always good when that happens.
It's pretty much, it's not really a big drastic improvement. It is smaller, which is good. So that's good. I've now got buyer's remorse and 2 chairs when I only needed 1. And the reason why I wanted to get rid of that one was because it was so big. Now I've got the opposite problem. I've got a big chair and a small chair,
Both not the right size.
both taking up room.
What color is the new one?
Just black. I've just gone boring. I've got my old one is a gaming seat, a big bright red and black gaming seat. It looks pretty cool. This new one is your standard, office chair, not dissimilar to these ones really. But mesh back. Apparently that's important.
Titanami.
Mesh back. Titanami. Well, it's too late, mate. I already bought it.
Titanami XL.
Yeah. Is that your chair recommendation?
It would be probably the chair I would buy
Yeah.
if I had the money.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we live and we learn. It is my birthday on Wednesday, so send presents, everybody. There's a link in the description if you want to buy us a beer. And there's also a Patreon link as well. So Patreon and buy us a beer, and you can make birthday donations there if you so choose to. I've started watching the Jimmy Savile documentary on Netflix.
Yes. I'm glad we're going to talk about this.
Oh yeah, have you watched it?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, so I'm only halfway through, unfortunately. So I've only watched 1 episode of the 2 episodes. But so far, I'm enjoying the documentary. But I was watching it, and I was just thinking. I was watching it, and the first episode really just seems to be about establishing him, who he is, his position in life, and so on, and basically pointing out how ridiculously elevated his position was. He's literally friends with the Queen and hanging out with the Queen and stuff like that. But as I was watching it, I was just like, it's crazy to think that as I watched the clips of him entertaining and so on, that anybody was ever entertained by him. I was like, this guy. It seems like an obnoxious, annoying dickhead.
Ooh.
And he doesn't shut up. He's ugly. He's got rotten teeth. Like, he literally looks like a pedo to me. He looks like the definition of a pedo.
Looks and was.
And was. Exactly. So he looks and was this horrible pedo, and it was just weird to me that he embodies the pedo stereotype with the thinning hair, long, the rotten teeth. He's skinny and weird and middle-aged and white, and it's like,
wearing weird tracksuits, multicolored tracksuits,
revealing his body quite often in these outfits as well,
acting as if he's younger than he really is.
It was all very, for me, I was like, how were people entertained by this at all? But then I recognized my prejudices, and I was like, well, okay, there's probably 2 things. One is that the internet has numbed me to people like him, but the times have changed now.
The cult of personality.
Yeah, it was all brand new and fresh when he came out. But nowadays we would look at him and just go, this is just another attention-seeking lolcow on YouTube. And so I was like, this guy, I don't really get it. And then the other one is obviously the other lens that I'm biased, looking through in a biased fashion, is the fact that I know that he's a disgusting, creepy pedophile pervert who hurt a lot of people, people that he had authority over, people that couldn't help themselves in many ways. And and he was just this horrific monster, and that he got away with it. He did it his whole life, and actually, I haven't finished the documentary yet, but I know that he died without getting caught. So, got away with it in every way, it would seem. And it's like, well, shit, that's horrible. Like, how can you be a child molester for 50 years and get away with it, especially if you're such a public person? And what a monster.
Yeah, it is fascinating because we've talked about Jimmy Savile here on the podcast as proof that God does not exist.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Or proof that there is no such thing as karma in the world. Because this man lived his whole life a rich, incredibly successful, beloved monster abuser.
Yeah.
With absolutely zero repercussions for his hideous actions until after his death, when it doesn't fucking matter anymore. And also no real respite for all his victims, apart from a paltry payout from his estate, which I read apparently couldn't be more than £60,000.
Why is it like, was his money gone by the end?
It was something to do with it. So essentially what happened is because he was a notorious child molester / abuser, not just children actually, just many, many different people. He was just an abuser in general, right? And so he never had any proper relationships because it's very hard to keep all this abuse secret if you have relationships. So he didn't have any relationships. He just sort of told stories about how he had relationships and sort of made these, also quite really, in retrospect, incredibly creepy jokes about women and stuff like that, which everyone was like, oh, Jimmy, the man about town, Jimmy Savile, up to his old tricks, which was just obviously a cover and a facade for all this abuse. So he had no money. So essentially his estate was frozen after all these abuses came out, and then that money was allocated to give to victims, but the compensation couldn't be more than a certain amount. And I don't think that £60,000 quite covers any of the horrific things that might have been done to you by Jimmy Savile.
And the effect they would have on your ongoing life.
Yeah, exactly, for the rest of your life.
Yeah. God, he's so disgusting looking.
Yeah, I mean, it is a fascinating story. It's like he became entrenched in the pop culture of the UK before, and so by the time anyone sort of started going, is this guy just a fucking creepy weirdo? He'd been 40 years there, and it was like, no, it's Uncle Jimmy.
Yeah. Jim will fix it.
Jim will fucking fix it. And it is a fascinating, to me, it's one of the most fascinating stories of someone who never got caught, really. But incredibly horrific and disturbing. They're actually making a movie about it now, like well, it's not fiction, it really happened, but, a fictionalized version of events. And Steve Coogan is playing Jimmy Savile. They've already filmed that. So yeah, I watched both of them back to back. And man, after watching that, I was really in a bad mood. I'd had a great day. Yeah, it had been an amazing day. And then because I am fascinated by him as a character. I'm fascinated by this person, almost in the way that you're fascinated by Hitler. I'm fascinated.
Not fascinated by Hitler.
I'm fascinated by Jimmy Savile's story.
He's the antagonist of World War II. He's the Darth Vader of World War II.
So your obsession with Hitler, I've got to be obsessed with Jimmy Savile. And so I'd read an article, and it seemed to me that the article that I read was basically the basis for this two-part documentary, and they just sort of expanded it. But of course, you had all these insane visuals of him as an entertainer, of him doing all this stuff, and being on top of the pops for 40 years and all this other shit. And yeah, it's a very interesting but also very disturbing. It is a classic Netflix in that they took something that could be part one of one
and turned it into two. But no, I was all right with that. Like, it was the first episode was an hour 19 or something, and I was like, hey, this is actually okay. I'm kind of I don't, this is a good amount of content for me.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to watch the second episode. I am going to watch the second episode tonight, but I was going to watch it today before the show. I was thinking about so that we could talk about it if you had seen it, but I didn't really get round to it, and so
I think
tonight's the night.
The most disturbing about it, this is
nothing like some Netflix and Jimmy Savile to just put your mind at ease while you go to sleep.
A slight spoiler.
Well, what? I don't want any slight spoilers.
Don't worry. As a slight spoiler is they don't even really delve into the depths of
his
the
depravity.
Abuse. Yeah. As in, they do talk about some things that happen to certain people, and there's certain people that interview about it, but they don't really go into all the horrific nature of what he did. They're just, they just sort of talk in very broad strokes, but it's far more horrific if you do delve slightly deeper. But I think it's the perfect alibi, right? I'm a guy that all I do is dedicate my life to raising money for hospitals and charities to help sick individuals. That's literally the thrust of my life. So anytime anyone ever says a bad word against me, look at my life's work. Look at my commitment to this cause. Look how much money I've raised. How could you possibly call my intentions into question when, in fact, I am, doing more than 99.9% of people?
So the question is it the chicken or the egg? Did he do the hospitals because he felt so bad deep down inside about being a horrific child molesting pervert, and he felt like he had to, do things to make up for this? Or did he just do the hospitals and all the rest of it purely was his ultimate goal and meaning in life? Because he conquered the world of TV and, entertainment and being a socialite and all that. So was his ultimate goal, because he said in one of the interviews about freedom being his ultimate goal, but did he really just mean the freedom to molest people and do anything you want to get away with it? Was that his ultimate ambition in life, to do what he did, as in all the rest of it was just a way to get him there, whether it's the celebrity or whether it's the hospitals and all that stuff, and he did it purely to be able to enable himself to be able to molest people at will? Which one is it? Is there some remorse? Is he a human, or is he just really truly that cold and calculating, and he built a hospital in order to molest patients?
I do think it's a checks and balances thing, and they do sort of discuss that in the documentary. He was a Catholic, and he was a sort of...
Well, that's good, because the Catholic hell's pretty bad, I think.
Yeah, well, he's an avid believer. So the idea, what a lot of people posed, was that he, on the one hand, he had these monstrous tendencies, and to offset his monstrous perversions and tendencies, he's also like, but sure, I molested some of them, but I also helped so many of them.
Yeah.
And that was a weird, disgusting justification in his head.
Yeah.
And I do think that's possible.
It's the net good argument, isn't it?
Yes.
It's the net good argument that in your life is the world better or worse for you having been here when you check out? If you have increased the net good in the world, then theoretically you're a good person, right? But what if you did kind of increase technically the net good in the world by doing all these hospitals and other, good things which helped a lot of people? And let's imagine that, the harm was less, if you make up this, somehow you figure out how to work it out and you work out that the harm is less or more. Does that mean that Jimmy Savile's in heaven right now?
Well, that's essentially what he sort of hypothesized in his book or autobiography. He talked about that. Clearly because it was on his mind due to all the fucking molesting.
Yeah.
But horrific story of a monster who went completely unpunished in his lifetime. Yes, we all now know, and I think it's great that I think this documentary is great because obviously it's still not going to be everyone that knows all this stuff. The awareness built up over 50 years has to then be deconstructed over the next 50, And so this movie and this documentary and the some previous documentaries about him in this article are all important things as a sort of, I guess, a healing and a sort of a repairing of all the damage that he did. But it's still, it doesn't really matter because he did get away with it. But yeah, fascinating doco, well worth a watch. But definitely, if you're feeling fragile, maybe if you're a little bit concerned about
trigger warning,
humanity, and your faith in humanity is like teetering on the brink.
Well, that does sound like me.
Don't watch that.
That does sound like me.
Don't go ahead and watch that.
I was going to go and watch the second episode tonight. So, see you in the morning, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
Well, speaking of bad news, well, not really bad news, but bad topics, there is, of course, the ongoing war as well. My favorite new segment, War Cry. and the Russians dug in. So the Russians have moved out of the north of the Ukraine now, but before they went, they dug into the radioactive wasteland around Chernobyl. They just sent their soldiers in there with no equipment. Did you watch the Chernobyl Netflix series?
I did.
Good show. So they sent them in there into that that area with no protective anything, and told them to dig in. So they dug into the soil, and the way that the radiation gets spread is that it's in the soil. So if you go into Chernobyl and kick up a bunch of dust, you're going to inhale some of that dust, and it's going to be radioactive, and it's going to go inside you. And so you don't want to be kicking up that dust, basically.
Yeah.
And so what they were doing
That's
was
how John Wayne died.
What? Kicking up dust.
He breathed in toxic waste from dirt, from nuclear fallout, from nuclear testing in New Mexico.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, he developed cancer from that, and died.
Yeah.
That's what they... So everyone, a large majority of a crew that went and filmed in this New Mexico, I think it's New Mexico town, near to where they had done this nuclear testing, essentially were in this area that was semi-radioactive.
Yeah.
They didn't realize they're just shooting one of his classic westerns.
Did they just not get permission, or
did
the government just say, yeah, it's sweet?
Obviously we're talking about, this would have been in the 60s.
Yeah.
And so obviously even the understanding of, radioactive pollution and stuff was very different.
Yeah.
But I think they were not aware that the radioactive waste had spread that far.
Right.
And I think that's where the thing, so they thought they were in a sort of a safe area, and they weren't.
Got it.
And anyway, that he...
I assume somebody sued, right?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I do think that it's like a sort of, it is somewhat speculative that he developed all those
because of that.
But it seems the most likely thing.
Well, that's what's going to be happening to these
poor Russians
soldiers that have been sent in with reckless criminal negligence on the behalf of their generals and so on. They were just like, yeah. We don't care if it's a nuclear wasteland. Go in there. And so they sent them in there, and they had to dig like trenches and foxholes and, defend the area, create a defensible area. And it's like, well, what the hell?
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing with what are they going to do? And then so they started getting sick, and then these people they pulled out, but that's not even necessarily going to, well, it's obviously not going to fix the problem. They're going to be sick either for a very long time or a very short time probably. And then there's also the fact that they're all their trucks and all their diggers and all of their tracked equipment such as tanks are all got dust and dirt all over them, and then they're taking those tanks and all of that equipment and they're taking it into Belarus right now. Or they've taken it in there now, and now they're traveling to who knows where. So it's like, I wonder if they cleaned up the tanks and so on, or if they're just spreading it around. And also that they might have looted radioactive material as well. So
why were they told to do that digging in the first place?
Just to defend the place. It was just like, standard protocol is like, show up. Yeah. Like make this a defensible position, defend perimeter. And so they're like, we're at war, right? So anywhere when the soldiers stop, they usually got to dig in a little bit in case they come under fire. So if you're in Chernobyl, you got to dig in still. And if they think Chernobyl is an objective, then they'll defend it as well, right? So they had soldiers living there, and supposedly they found like food cans and so on and rubbish and all that, which had all been obviously suggesting that they'd been living there in the ground for quite a long time, and that illnesses did start showing up. But so it'll be pretty horrible to be those soldiers.
How, I wonder, did this not I'm sure they got
They must have known
the
memo. They must have seen the Netflix series.
I was going to say they surely watched the Netflix series Chernobyl, about Chernobyl.
Yeah.
And were like, hey, boss, have you seen the Netflix series Chernobyl? Because they're saying that like this area is like abandoned for a reason, serious reason,
a really serious reason.
And I feel like I read some facts at the end about it lasting, several hundred years, and no one could live here, and a lot of people got sick and died.
Yeah,
and they were like, just dig a hole.
Just dig a hole.
Thank you.
Yours is not to question why. Yours is but to do or die.
Charge of the Light Brigade.
So what happens, right? So they've moved out of the north now, and now they're attacking down on the east. So what happens next in this war is a renewed offensive to effectively hold the ground they've got down there and then declare a victory and run away and just not give back what they've taken. So now they're going down there, attacking a little bit more, holding on to what they've got, consolidating their gains, and then on May, well, this is just speculation, but then declaring victory. And there's got Victory Day coming up next month, their World War II victory ceremony, an annual ceremony that they do. Declare victory, celebrate Victory Day, and then just keep all that land, basically, and just sort of say it was a win.
Get out of Dodge.
Yeah, which is not the worst end to this situation, obviously. Like, if they just do that, that sucks, and it's like you kind of feel like the Ukrainians should take back all that land. But on the other hand, maybe we don't go to war. Maybe we don't have a big giant nuclear World War III. Maybe that'd be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. The less people that die, cool. If you want to claim victory when you didn't really do anything, go for it, mate.
Yeah. Well, it's been a real massive failure on Russia's behalf so far, by the looks of it. But yeah, so we don't want to go down that nuclear war route, because even down here, with the slipstreams in the atmosphere, they'll get us eventually. The radiation or something will get us eventually. So, we don't want that.
Now, I had quite an interesting interview here. So this is the podcast studio. We do podcasts from here. Mm-hmm. And I met a very interesting gentleman who was an astronomer. Mm. And I was like, in my head, I was like, man, Harley would be cracking the biggest fat right now for this guy.
I've got a philosophy shirt on, but not one of my astronomy shirts, unfortunately.
He would be coming all over this guy if he was here. So maybe it's a good thing he's not.
Yeah.
But even I was kind of interested. So essentially he was presenting a talk about just a very brief 3-minute talk that was going to be recorded and posted to a bunch of different, sort of academic places, academic astrology places. Mm-hmm. Astronomy, sorry. He did not like when I said astrology.
I can bet he didn't.
Yeah, I was like, so you're a...
Big difference, people, between astronomy and astrology.
You're a qualified astrologer. Mm-hmm. And he was like, astronomer.
She was like, I'm a doctor of astronomy.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
and I think he was professor. He was a professor, right? Actually, so he was 82 years old. First time that he'd been filmed here, and he was retired. He used to be a lecturer. He was retired, but he still wrote about this sort of thing.
Yeah,
and essentially what he was saying was basically this 3-minute piece was his response to a new essay published about the likelihood of dark matter.
Okay.
And the basic idea being that there is no such thing as dark matter.
Okay.
Dark matter does not exist. Dark matter is based on a sort of a hypothesis with several flaws that do not respect Sir Isaac Newton's laws of gravity, among other things, and ignore certain things that are very key. And so there's been a lot of discussion in the astronomy world about whether dark matter does or doesn't exist and how it can be proven or disproven. And he was talking about this paper and then what the further tests could be done using micro-lensing. Mm-hmm. You know what microlensing is, Harley?
No, looking at little things with a microscope.
Basically, yeah, but with telescopes. So essentially, looking out at far planets and stars, and essentially looking for the bend in light that would be caused by dark matter.
Right.
And essentially, what they've said is that they never ever, in all of this stuff that they've done, ever found this bend in light that should exist. Based off dark matter existing. Now, I had the same thing when I went to the astrology thing in Wellington a few years back.
Astronomy, sorry.
They had this whole thing about this and that and dark matter.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they were like, however, new evidence has come to light which suggests that dark matter may not exist.
Yeah.
The whole hour that you've watched is completely irrelevant because of this new thing. But that has yet to be proven.
Yeah.
And that was basically the end of that. That was in probably 2017 that I went to that. Right? Now, this guy's doing this or talking about this paper now, and what he was saying that he said the problem is that the person that came up with the concept of dark matter is this very well revered and respected person. They've named a telescope after her and all this sort of thing. And so for people to come in, sort of basically say, which is a scientist's job, is to come in and say, this is incorrect and this is why it's incorrect and here's the evidence to suggest it's incorrect. He said, but that's a very hard pill for people to swallow at the moment.
Well, it's like Jimmy Savile.
Exactly.
Same deal. He can't be a pedo because he's done lots of great things.
He's done so much great things.
He can't be wrong because she can't be wrong because she's well respected.
Yeah, because she's a sort of a legendary astronomer. And so essentially he said that he wasn't very confident that in his lifetime this dark matter, the sort of concept of dark matter would be, disproven.
Yeah.
But he was also like, but I think that it will absolutely be, but it's not going to be easy because of this, this basic thing. I just thought all of that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Well, I wonder what he thinks is fueling the expansion of the universe then, because I'm pretty sure that's what they reckon, unless I'm getting mixed up with dark energy, but they reckon, like there's something, they look at the universe and it's much heavier than it should be. And they think dark matter is the answer.
The universe was growing and expanding all the time. He did mention that.
Yeah, and there's something fueling that expansion because what should be happening is it should be expanding and slowing down. But it's not expanding. That expansion is not slowing down. It's actually speeding up. So why is it speeding up? They're trying to find what's speeding up the expansion of the universe. And it might be dark matter or dark energy, possibly.
Yeah, I'm breaking it here on the podcast.
Yeah, it's not. It's not dark matter. Doesn't exist.
You heard it here. This is what? 2022?
Yeah.
April 2022?
Yeah, you're saying...
I've broken this news on the podcast for all our scientists friends out there.
You talked to one old guy.
I've talked to one 82-year-old guy about it who I have absolutely zero...
knowledge of his...
or understanding of the basic concepts he's talking about. Or any understanding of really dark matter apart from that thing I watched in Wellington in 2017.
Yeah.
But despite all that, I'm breaking it here on the podcast, so you can take it now.
Keep us accountable.
The Guy and Harley podcast has broken the news that dark matter does not exist. It will be disproven in the next 10 to 20 years, unequivocally. And we broke the news here first. So you're welcome, guys.
Well, let's say you broke the news here first.
I'm taking full credit for it.
Let's say you broke the news here first.
Absolutely.
I was a witness to this historic moment, though. Yeah. I'll tell you what dark matter is, mate. It's when there's two different universes in the multiverse, and they rub up against each other, and we start seeing a bulge in our universe caused by another universe on the other thin veil of reality, pressing up against our one.
Through the veil.
Yeah, through the thin veil of reality. And so it's pressing up against, another universe is pressing up against our one. Now, the question is, what happens when it presses up enough that the two universes merge and we just turn into a hellscape immaterium? What happens if they merge?
Mate.
We'll find out.
We'll find out in Doctor Strange 2, The Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
Scheduled to be released this year.
Yeah.
So if that's been a pressing question for you,
yeah,
it will be answered by Marvel Entertainment.
There you go. So look into that. Yeah, well, good stuff. Maybe we are actually already happening, though. Maybe the symptoms, maybe we're already seeing the symptoms.
Yeah.
And that's what I said about the other day about starting to suspect that I'm in a video game now, because, weird things are happening. Will Smith is slapping people. We've got war going off. We've got viruses. We've got weird stuff going on. And it does feel like maybe our two universes are merging. So...
the violent Will Smith universe.
Yeah.
And the beloved Will
Smith universe is merging. Exactly.
Yes. Well,
it's going to be like with Katie Holmes, Natalie Portman, the movie you hated. Shit. The Annihilation. It's going to be just like Annihilation.
Well, in a Will Smith update, the Academy has banned him for 10 years.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because he'd already quit. So it's like, fuck you, you can't fire me, I already quit.
Yes.
Dickheads.
So that's one issue with it. The other issue is, there's two issues. They didn't take his Academy Award away, So he wasn't really punished for his
But they
bad
haven't done
behaviour.
that. They've never done that. They didn't take away
know.
Harvey Weinstein's one.
No one's ever fucking slapped
He's
anyone
a
before.
rapist. He's a rapist. They didn't take away his Oscar.
Yes, but all his misconduct was not at the Oscars.
Well, yeah, it wasn't at the Oscars. That's true.
But
But can you take an Oscar away from somebody for something they did before they had the Oscar? I just don't know if you can do that. You can't retroactively enforce it. They gave him the Oscar. And what he did was something he did before he had the Oscar. It's not like he gave him the Oscar, then he slapped somebody on stage, and then they were like, hey, we're taking this back.
yeah, well, I mean, I just think that it's like the most meaningless punishment of all time. He's won the big one, right? He's got the thing.
Yeah.
And not only that, we saw him, dancing to get jiggy with it with a bottle of fucking champagne in his hand.
But he was having a huge night, man. He was fucked up.
Having the time of his life, right? Having the best night of his life.
He was doing lines off the top of Jada's head.
As oh my God. As Chris Rock held his swollen jaw, right?
His lightly stinging jaw.
Will Smith was back here doing this, right? Holding his Oscar, drinking thing. So he had the great moment. He had the amazing time. And he got away with that. And that's just something that I think, no good deed goes unpunished. You got to punish him, and no firing someone that's already quit.
Yeah.
It's not punishment. Yeah, I've resigned. Don't worry. You got a 10-year ban. Well, don't worry. I've resigned. Also, I'm not sure, but I don't think that actually even means anything. As in, he could win another Academy Award, right? For any movie he's in the next 10 years. And that's it.
That would be the ultimate.
He just can't
That would be the ultimate comeback for him.
He just can't go to the Academy Awards.
And he also can't vote in the Academy Awards.
And he can't vote on other films.
He
Not
can't
that
vote
he
on
cared
other
about
films.
that shit.
He probably didn't care.
Well, I mean, he cared because he was voting for himself.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can do that.
Yeah, probably. I guess you can't. But
Well, maybe you can.
maybe you can. You got to believe in yourself. There's one thing America teaches you. You got to believe in yourself. So it's like if you don't believe in yourself, or if you do believe in yourself, you should be able to vote for yourself. So
yeah, it's just kind of like
Probably did.
So it's like, so let me get this straight. You've been banned from something that you've quit, right? But you're still eligible for their awards should you make a good enough movie and could win one. And the one that you won on the night when you slapped someone before that gets to stay with you. And you got to have that great, amazing night and get jiggy with it and throw up the Oscar and all that sort of thing. And you get to do a public apology while forgetting the more important private apology directly to the man you assaulted. And hey, it's just all good. Now, look, on the flip side of that,
I think he feels pretty bummed out.
well, yeah, now
my
he does.
Will feels pretty bummed out.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Does he feel bummed out because you and I are ranting about it on a podcast?
Probably. He is a 5150 listener. Shout out to Will.
Shout out to Will. And like sort of the court of public opinion has judged him guilty. Like as in if we'd all gone.
Like, yeah, woo!
Yeah,
go Will!
Yeah,
don't take that! Don't take that!
If we'd all gone, let's just. Yeah, you were right. You stood up for your wife and you slapped that motherfucker down. Just like he deserved. If we'd all been like that.
He'd be like, yeah.
Exactly. Would he feel bad? Because that's really the true thing, is if he still felt bad about the whole thing, like, oh, that was awkward, I made everyone feel awkward, and I slapped that man in the face, and I can't be around assaulting people half my size. It's just not on. It's bad, right? Or was he like, oh man, I'm seeing all this stuff blow up about how I've done a bad thing, and I'm used to being a really beloved, the most entertaining, most beloved actor in the world. I've been used to that for 30 years, and now I feel kind of bad because I'm not that right now. The court of public opinion has not ruled in my favor, so let me come out with this public apology but avoid the private one, and let me go away to my retreat to de-stress from winning the best award you can possibly win as an actor, from succeeding to the absolute pinnacle you could ever possibly achieve as an actor. Let me de-stress from that moment and assaulting that man in a private, some island somewhere retreat. Now, look, in terms of repercussions, apparently some of his movie projects have been put on hold.
Yeah, it's definitely a career stumbling block, that one.
But isn't it just a little stumble? Like,
Well, probably. It depends how he recovers.
If we talk about, like, they're going to be talking about the dark matter, breaking of news here for, many years to come. But I'm not sure, like, even I'm going to be like, and so let's just say like a year or two's time, I'm like, hey, remember when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock? You'd be like,
no, not really.
Who?
Yeah.
No? The Oscars. I don't know. I'm not sure about the whole thing.
Well, it's like a wise man once said. Will Smith don't have to cuss in his raps to sell records. Well, I do. So fuck him and fuck you too.
There is quite a funny bit where they've spliced that with Will Smith saying, keep my wife's name
out your fucking mouth.
So yeah, good times.
The other day I was at, so there's things are looking up for New Zealand. We open up Jab Chat. Things are looking up for New Zealand because, who knows about COVID? We don't really understand what's going on. There's a green light, there's a red light, there's a disco lights. We don't really know what's going on. But what we do know is what's happening around us. And I noticed that this area, during COVID, it kind of shut down. A few businesses went under and so on. But now new businesses have sprung up to replace those ones. And so the other day I went to a big pub near here that's been turned into a restaurant and had a lovely meal, and it was really good. But there was a couple of dickheads outside. There was one guy who was pretending to punch a girl, like kind of like play fighting with a girl while she was smoking, and they were friends all from the same group.
That classic domestic violence joke.
the domestic violence joke. And
Never gets old.
I was watching him, and I was like, man, this guy's a dickhead. But he wasn't like he wasn't hitting her or anything like that. And I couldn't hear what they were saying, and they were kind of like just sort of mucking around and dancing around. And then suddenly a giant guy came out of the bar and went over and like shoved him. And they were both really drunk and tried to, sort of pretend that he was play fighting him, but in a like, come on, cunt kind of way. They were both dickheads. He was a dickhead for play fighting with the girl, perhaps a little too rough. And the big guy was a dickhead for marching out like it was a real big drama, like it was a big scene. And so I subtly started recording for my TikTok, but sadly there was no punches thrown.
Where was that?
Just across the road at a restaurant near a new restaurant that used to be a bar on the corner that's was closed down for ages, and now there's a new bar, a new spot in there.
I'm sure that'll be fun for us.
What, to have to go there?
No, that new bar on the corner and
no, not right next to us, like a little way away from us, but close enough that it's a good sign for the economy. Is the point? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have crested the peak,
So they say,
rephrase that.
This peak.
There's
multiple. It comes in waves.
Yeah.
And we've crested this wave.
This wave, we've surfed the wave of Omicron.
The first trickle of Omicron has come through, and but the tsunami is still potentially coming.
I think we're down to sort of 6,000 cases or something last time I checked.
Not bad. Considering we were talking on this show, and it was like one case was a big deal. For a year and a half or something on this show, like one case was a big deal.
Well, we were hitting 20K every day for about
a little while
month,
there.
Just about.
Yeah.
Maybe not a month, maybe like 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I'm a bit concerned because I flew to Wellington and Christchurch. I flew on planes. I had to sit next to people on planes. I stayed in a hotel, and I was in these events which were being run in bars. And so there was a very real possibility that statistically somebody in one of those places had the virus. And I was traveling around and doing it. But so far so good. But we'll see. We'll see how we go. I don't want to get it because I'm hearing people post on, I'm seeing people post on Facebook, friends post on Facebook, and they're like, actually, this is really shit. And they're not my attention-seeking friends. They're not my friends that I'm like, oh, yeah, like, of course that person would, make a huge deal about it. It's like, oh, okay, really? Yeah, he's saying it's really, really actually quite shit and, like, lasting and, like, ongoing. It must be kind of bad. So, I'm really hoping to avoid it.
Yeah, well, I think that's the whole a discussion around COVID at some point has to shift to long COVID.
Yeah.
And the sort of those it's
I don't want that shit, man.
Yeah, no one wants it because
long COVID. God, it sounds horrible. It's like COVID but longer.
Essentially, what they're talking about is really chronic fatigue-like symptoms.
Yeah.
And chronic fatigue is something that I know a little bit about because both my sisters suffered from it. And it's something that basically depletes your energy to the point where you cannot live a full and normal life. You can't work, you get too tired. You can't exercise, you get too tired. You can't concentrate on a thing for too long, you get too tired, right? You have to sleep all the time, you have to take naps, you get exhausted when you do small little things. All the sorts of things which, when you have COVID, they talk about potentially being a problem, is sort of also very similarly symptomatic to what you get with chronic fatigue. And chronic fatigue syndrome is sort of like something that really kind of just diminishes your quality of life in a very substantial way. And again, there's sort of it's like some people just get better and some people don't. And some people have it for years and some people have it for 6 months. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that there's not really any great answers or research around all this nonsense about, just take more B vitamins or whatever whatever it is. It's like
I heard you've got to not exercise too much, take it real easy during your recovery, eat well, basically just the common sense shit, like eat well, have some supplements.
Yeah.
But make sure you don't exercise and you don't try to kind of push through it. Basically sleep a lot, don't drink, exercise only lightly or not really too much at all, and then just wait it out.
Well, that's to avoid long COVID.
Yeah, to avoid long COVID. If you have COVID, to avoid long COVID, don't stress yourself out. Now, of course, this is completely not based on anything medical, or it's just like rumor and hearsay that I've found on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I also recently, last weekend, or this weekend actually, that's just been, went to the Shire, Mr. Frodo. I went back to the Shire.
The Shire, Sam?
The Golden Shire.
Oh, Sam.
Just laying there, basking in its golden warmth.
Oh, how I miss the Shire.
So... I went to Hobbiton. So we live in New Zealand.
Where
New Zealand is Middle Earth. So now technically if
the eighth wonder of the world.
Technically if you just walk down to some bushes,
you're in Hobbiton.
You're in Hobbiton.
You can actually look at
You've been to a set of Lord of the Rings, right?
You can look at our series, and it's shot in the park near our house. It looks exactly the same.
It really
our Lord of the Rings series
it really
on
does.
the Pigville YouTube channel, youtube.com/Pigville, and the number 2. Look for Lord of the Rings.
There's a bit where we're just on a hill. The first one, we were just on a hill, which was property that was going to be
developed.
At the time, and we're just sitting on a hill. It looks exactly like the fucking
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Because every hill in New Zealand looks like the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So
it's a shame that they forgot that and moved it overseas.
It's a shame that they completely decided to
Amazon.
not film anymore here. It's weird. It's a little bit weird. It's weird and it's not weird. There's good reasons for why they did it, obviously. And it's all about tax incentives and breaks and how much it can cost them less somewhere else. And, to be fair, I think where they've moved to, which is like Scotland and Ireland and stuff like that. I've been to Ireland.
Also quite Middle Earth.
It looks exactly fucking like New Zealand.
Yeah.
Not exactly, but, almost exactly like New Zealand.
Yeah.
It's very, very similar. And when I was there, I was like, this is beautiful New Zealand here in Ireland. And so I think, but of course they have real castles and old shit there, and all we have is fucking modern homes because every home, basically, what I was told the other day is sort of every home between a certain time, like a 10-year period, was built like shit. Was built like absolute shit, and so now anytime those homes come to be renovated, or that they need work done, which they all need work done now, like these 50-year-old homes, 60-year-old homes, 80-year-old homes, essentially every time they look at them and they go, it's going to cost you more to fix this than it is to build a new home. And so everyone goes, well, we'll build a new home, thanks. That'd be quite nice, new home. Rather than keep these beautiful, whatever architecture and whatever else.
Drafty old
Old villas.
Cold shitholes.
Drafty, leaky villas. And it was all to do with our low building standards at a certain time. But anyway, I went to so yes, Middle Earth is everywhere, but the Hobbiton is a place where Peter Jackson filmed for both Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, which essentially is the Shire, right? It is Frodo's and Sam's house and houses, and it's sort of like it's been built out with all these sets. It's like it's a legitimate little township based on someone's farm, which kind of has every little hobbit hole you could possibly think of. Bag Enders there, and it's now a tourist attraction. So basically what happened is they built it for Lord of the Rings, and then they're like, sweet, Lord of the Rings is done. Let's just tear this down. And they did. And then The Hobbit came along. They're like, let's build it again for The Hobbit. And then they're like, man, we could make heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps of money off this. Let's keep it up this time. Let's not tear it down. And let's make millions and millions of dollars off of this yearly. $89 per head. And so what they did is they brought in, so they sort of kept all the sets up, and now they just take Hobbit tours where you go around this Middle-earth Hobbiton and walk past all these little houses and take photos.
Yeah.
Peter Jackson welcomes you on the tour bus. Have you been on it?
Yeah, I went. I went and did it a few years ago. I went and checked it out. My big problem with it is that I just hate all things related to tourism in terms of like experiencing them myself. I don't really feel like going along and being a member of a tour group, and there's a tour guide that's making jokes, shit jokes, and I've got to get on a bus and all of that type of stuff. Plus I'm paying a premium for this experience, and it's just so like I don't know, sanitized, and I don't know, it doesn't really seem like a very real experience. So I kind of just hate those. But particularly because when I worked on the cruise ship, I went on literally,
every tour,
100 of them. Like every day I was going on a tour. So I was starting to hear the same jokes from different tour people. Seeing the same tours multiple times, all that type of thing, and it made me bitter and twisted in the end. And so I didn't want to. I don't really enjoy them. And so
more
Hobbiton,
machine than man. Now.
Exactly.
Twisted and evil.
Yes. Yeah. Well, so Hobbiton didn't really impress me too much because I was like, I just didn't enjoy that aspect of it. But what I did enjoy was walking around, getting some photos on the actual set, and then going into the pub. And I don't know if they still do this, but they give you like a free mead. You had a choice between mead and beer, I think, when I was there, or maybe it was wine and beer.
Yep.
But it was, some cool hobbity drinks, and I got a nice seat right by the fire, so it was, right in the bar. What's the name of the bar? Do you remember?
The Green Dragon.
The Green Dragon. Inside the Green Dragon, the actual Green Dragon, there I am sitting down next to the fire. The fire's roaring because we must have gone at the right time of year.
You got your dainty little hobbit feet out.
I got my
warming
hairy hobbit feet.
Hobbit feet by the fire.
Defrosting and sipping my one wine or my one mead that they gave me, and then they ushered us out. Before the next team of tourists, the busload of tourists arrived, ushered us out and got us the fuck out of there, and then dumped us in the car park somewhere, $89 poorer. But
$89 poorer. Yeah.
But it was good. Like, it is worth seeing once, but I don't really want to see it again, and that's a shame for my future friends who would like to see it.
It's a shame for she who shall be named.
Well, to be honest, she has mentioned that she would like
really
to
go there.
And I was like, yeah, that's a shame. It's pretty cool. It's worth checking out. Have fun.
It's a great experience.
It's a decent experience.
See ya.
It's a decent experience.
So yeah, I went there, and that was the second time that I went there, and I really liked it. Now, this is also the beautiful thing about COVID, right?
Hallowed be thy name.
COVID has destroyed our tourism industry. It's absolutely ransacked it, right? It's absolutely just taken the heart out of the tourism industry. But now if you go somewhere as a tourist, it's really good because there's no one fucking there.
Exactly. So if there's any international tourists that want to come, now's the time.
So we went there. Like the last time I went, you were hurried through everything.
Oh, so you've been twice?
Yeah. So they had because they had all these different people. Like, oh, okay, come on, let's keep going because we need oh, it broke your microphone. We've got to keep this train going. But for us, we were the last group. It was the 3 p.m. group. There wasn't any other group, so it was just us. We had all of Hobbiton to ourselves. Mm-hmm. And it was really cool. And I was there with my girlfriend, and she absolutely loved it. Like, absolutely loved it. She was just thrilled by the little houses. Yeah. She was like, look, I got to tell you right now, I really love miniature things.
Yeah.
So it was
That's why she likes you, man.
It was like going to, thank you. It was like going to her perfect place. And she went into the Dragon Inn and she was like, man, this might be the most amazing interior I have ever seen anywhere, ever in my life. Yeah. In my whole entire life. And it was really cool.
But
and
you're going to tell them the twist, though?
Well, yeah, so I was sort of filming...
the twist is that she hasn't seen the movies.
Well, no, she's seen bits of the movies.
Yeah, but she's like, what's a Hobbiton?
Yeah, but she hasn't really watched it for real.
Yeah.
So I actually...
What the hell's a Hobbiton?
As we were driving there,
what's a Frodo?
I was like, just watch the opening segment so you can see where we're going.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can kind of see how it's cool.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay. And anyway, at the end of the tour, because this is the other thing, last time I went, the weather wasn't very good. Also, my ex-girlfriend, 2 times removed, got angry because someone essentially likened her to a hobbit.
Uh-huh. Was that someone new?
The height of the hobbit.
Was that someone new?
What do you mean?
Were you the one that suggested she's the height of the
hobbit?
hobbit?
No, it wasn't me.
It sounds like something you might say.
No, we were there with my family. And my brother-in-law thought it would be good to jest about her height. Yeah. Which apparently she's actually very sensitive about.
Hobbits are quite sensitive about their height.
That's true. Yeah. Hobbits believe they're 10 foot tall.
Yeah.
And if you tell them otherwise, them's fighting words. Yeah. Okay? And she got pretty fired up about that.
Yeah.
So I was
it's like dwarves. They're very similar in personality types.
Yeah. So I was the recipient of that anger later on that day. So this time round, there were no incidents except that. So this was...
you had a better girlfriend this time.
Better girlfriend,
better
upgraded, better weather, better girlfriend.
Less people, better weather, drama. Better girlfriend, less drama. Fucking winning.
Winning.
Hashtag winning.
Hashtag my life.
Yeah.
So at the end of the tour, you walk out of Hobbiton and the sun was setting. It was a beautiful shot, just like the movie when in The Hobbit, Martin Freeman, Bilbo Baggins, runs out of the Shire and goes, I'm late. Late for what, Bilbo? I'm going on an adventure. And he runs through and we pan up this beautiful shot of the Shire in the background and he's off on his grand adventure. And I was at that same section looking down on Hobbiton, exactly the same as in the movie. Mm-hmm. The sun was setting, golden hour, magical moment. And I was just like, babe, I just want you to walk towards me. I've got this really great shot. And she was like, no. And she just walked right past me. Mm-hmm. And I just got the last second of her going, no, and walking away. And that magical shot was not recreated.
I'm surprised that you didn't just get her to hold the camera and you recreate it yourself, because I could imagine you needing it for the Savage filmmaker at some point.
It's true.
It'd be perfect if you walk out and go, I'm going on an adventure.
That's true. I couldn't trust her to keep me in focus.
Right. I see. Yeah.
No autofocus.
No autofocus. All auto everything.
Jamie Oxley on the live stream says, I haven't seen any of the Lord of the Rings movies. For shame, my friend, for shame.
They are good. They are good. They were definitely worth watching.
They're the best.
They're a good one to watch with the kids, actually.
They're the best trilogy.
Kids will be fucking blown away by them, I reckon.
Next to the original Star Wars trilogy.
I read the books.
In the histories of movies.
When I was 13, or no, 11 maybe, I read the books. And these are great books. They really shape you. They really inform you on the world of fantasy and
There's a lot of
creative
discussion
thinking
about eating in those books.
yeah, there is a bit.
They're always eating elven bread.
I do seem to remember them talking a lot about food. It's the same in Game of Thrones,
Always
which is
eating
probably an
fucking
homage to J.R. Tolkien.
Well, it's an homage to the fat people that wrote them.
Yeah, well,
Although
that too.
Tolkien wasn't fat, he was thin.
He was a World War I veteran.
Yeah, no, he was lean and wiry.
Yeah.
But not the same cannot be said for George R.R. Martin.
Yeah, well, there is a lot of... I did have to... When I was reading the Game of Thrones books, there was a little bit of like, God, how long is he going to talk? It was like several pages of describing what they were eating that night.
Fantasy writers have a fetish...
And what they're wearing, the specifics.
Have a fetish for writing about the food that people eat in
the
fantasy
specific
times.
Clothes.
And the clothing that they wear. The tunics, the vests... Right? The silken fucking floral arrangements on the end of their things.
Yeah.
Like, they just love talking the capes.
Yeah.
Fucking the...
Well, they're world building, my friend. They're
world building,
they're
all right?
world building.
Fucking...
Building a whole earth.
Get on to the next fucking build, mate. I've had enough of this fucking elven loafs discussing lembas bread. I've had enough. But definitely the second greatest movie trilogy of all time next to the original Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah, I think you might be right there. Well, I mean, maybe not about Star Wars versus Lord of the Rings. I'm not quite weighing in on that, but I can't really think of another trilogy that's better
Exactly.
than Lord of the Rings or Star Wars.
There's some trilogies that start off really good.
Yeah, like
Matrix.
Terminator 1 and 2.
Yep. I mean, they've gone past the trilogy, but
well, so has Lord of the Rings,
technically,
and so has Star Wars, mate.
But they both did prequel trilogies.
Yeah,
it's not the same.
So it doesn't count.
On. No,
so it doesn't count.
Not the same.
Okay, all right, all right. Well, yeah, so also another shout out to Richard Lambeth on the live stream. He said he's never heard of a foreigner going to Hobbiton and not loving it.
Yeah, it's
so
amazing.
they got it right because it's awesome. Well, look, I think you're right there, and I am kind of looking forward in some ways to the foreigners coming back, but I don't know, I also kind of enjoy quiet wee New Zealand, being quiet and wee.
Well, I mean, it is not like, so we also went to the Waitomo Caves.
Yeah.
And that was also pretty cool. It was interesting. I thought I'd been there already, but I hadn't.
That's where I was thinking of, one of those caves around there is where I was thinking we could shoot for the original draft of Harrow, our web series. The original version of the script was set in these caves in the bush and all that type of thing. And so I had gone to Waitomo as well, and instead of going to the main cave, which I had been to before, they took us to some other little smaller cave off to the side. I think I must have just chosen a different company and a different cave.
There's about 4 or 5 different caves.
Yeah,
that you can go into.
This was a smaller one. This was a smaller company.
Yeah,
it wasn't the big main one, but it was still pretty cool. And it was just me, my ex-girlfriend, and the guide, and that was it. And we just went through, and it was pretty cool. And I was thinking, actually, that would be maybe we could hit them up. Maybe they would be keen for a fee to let us film in there, but probably not. Well, but what was good about it was the sound.
Yeah.
If you go into those caves, the sound and the temperature are like really kind of they're level. The sound sounds good, and it's not super echoey, and it's really warm.
Yeah, I've been to 2 other caves out that way. I don't know which ones, but I thought they were the Waitomo caves. I'd never actually been to the official Waitomo caves.
These were just caves in Waitomo.
Exactly. And so what I sort of... And it was also good, it was also interesting, and it was also really good because there was no other... Again, it was a small group of tourists, getting to experience this thing. But what he was saying essentially is we've gone from like 1,000 people coming through here a day to 100. Now, that's not good for your livelihood. And I don't want anyone's livelihood taken away from them. But I'm sure glad it'd be taken away that day.
Yeah. Well, look.
So anyway, and also the guide, the tour guide was the great grandson of the person one of the 2 people who originally discovered the Waitomo Caves.
Mm-hmm. That's the same story that I got told when I was there. So either
was his name Corey?
Well, I couldn't tell you. It was a few years ago. But it's either that's either the story they tell everybody, or
it's the same guide.
Or it's the same guide.
Which I think is likely.
Well, was he a Māori guy?
Well, he was a Māori guy, and
was
also
it down? Was the cave you were in a really steep cave? Well, no, maybe he didn't discover that one. Maybe it was
Well-
But was the story that they were rowing in a boat and they went into the caves via a river? You know, like they were in a river because there's water that runs through them, and that they decided to go in it, and it was like a colonial. Maybe it was a colonial guy and a local guy.
That's right, yeah.
And the local guy was the grandfather, and
Yes.
they went in, and I can't remember what else happened.
Well, there was a couple of so I can't remember if he said that they discovered it by a river, but allegedly he was like essentially the colonial guy encouraged the Māori guy to go in together with him.
Yeah.
The Māori guy had never wanted to go into the caves because they only ever go into caves to bury their dead at that time. But they did go in, and essentially I think it was like 6 or 7 years later they started tours going through there. This was in the late 1800s. But obviously it was much different back then. It would take like 7 hours to go through them and stuff like that. But he also said that because they discovered these caves together and because they were making money together, the Māori guy, and I obviously can't remember his name, gifted his first wife to the colonial guy.
Here, take this.
As a way to say thank you for their business partnership that they created together.
Yeah.
Well, I believed him because he looked very, very similar. Like you could see the sort of the family resemblance between the photo of the guy, you know, in the thing and him. And I was like, fuck, they do look really similar.
Yeah.
So if it's a story, look, of course it could be a story. Yeah, that's my great grandfather.
Yeah.
But it also could be true.
Did they give you a kawakawa tea at the end?
No, they didn't do shit at the end.
They gave me a kawakawa tea. Tea made of kawakawa, the local New Zealand plant that you can make a tea out of.
Yeah, no, they just kind of kicked us out.
Medicinal.
And I was like, look, these caves are amazing. It's interesting to see. It's cool. I enjoyed that little sort of history lesson.
Yeah.
However, we have just walked down a set of stairs into some dark caves. We've talked about the stalactites and the stalagmites and the names they have for them, which are completely irrelevant. Doesn't matter what you call a stalactite or a stalagmite.
Doesn't care.
Doesn't matter.
Stalactite doesn't care.
They're like, if you look over here, this one's the elephant.
Yeah.
And if you look over here, this one's the seal.
You go, well, in your opinion, it's the elephant.
And this one over here.
In my opinion, it's the dick.
This is the abseiling kiwi. And it's like, okay, you mean these are all
That's marketing for tourism.
But that's the thing, is like, I was like, okay, we've spent 45 minutes in this cave.
Yeah.
If we'd just walked through, it would have taken us 5.
Yeah. And then you'd have discovered it all. You would have.
Would we really have like?
Did you go on a boat at any point?
We did go on the boat at the end, but even the boat was essentially like, again, it wasn't like through all these tunnels, through these amazing.
No, they just push you out a couple of meters and then pull you back in.
Oh no! So for us, we went out and we went round a corner, out.
Oh, yeah.
That was it. Like it was like a 20-meter boat ride.
Yeah.
It was very slow, so it seemed a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. I don't want to say that it wasn't I don't want to say the experience wasn't cool.
Yeah.
But I also do want to say that like we just walked through some fucking caves. Okay.
Yeah.
Did we really need to make this big to do about it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Waitomo Caves. So I did
Google them, people. Waitomo.
I did enjoy the experience of exploring the caves myself when I went to the other less popular caves in the same area. So that's just a little pro tip.
There you go. I finally, after many moons, I finally got rid of my mattress that it had been sitting up against my wall, all stinky, for the entire time I've lived in this house. I got it when I was 21. I'm 38 now.
Oh my God.
I'm about to turn 39 in a couple of days.
Let that sink in. Let that sink in.
Well, we had a lot of good memories, Guy. There's a lot of good memories, me and that mattress. We went through thick and thin. And look, when I got to the dump, what actually happened was, I had a wee tear in my eye, but it was, it was time to say goodbye. and I had taken it to the dump. And when I got there, I didn't actually need to to drag it out of the car because it just stood up by itself and walked over to the edge of the pit, and then, without saying anything and no delays, it just threw itself over, without even a second's hesitation, and threw itself into the trash heap, and all you could hear was this sort of subtle sigh of relief from the mattress after all this time.
Yeah, and all the abuse.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
That you put it through. You'd been like Jimmy Savile to that mattress.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, a few seconds later, after the subtle sigh of relief, there was sort of the combined screams of 1,000 souls.
Yeah, as they all parted up into the air. Yeah. Like in Ghostbusters, echoing. When all the ghosts are let out.
It echoed around the landfill.
Similar thing at the landfill, and you were just standing there going, don't know anything about that.
Yeah. The bulldozers actually stopped. It was either out of respect or fear, I'm not sure, but they all had to stop for a second. And, it was just like in Ghostbusters. Yeah, it was exactly the same. So rest in peace to that that mattress. Now the good news is, so I'm a sentimental kind of person. My dead dog slept with me on that bed.
Sure.
I loved that dog. But the good news is sometimes I'm sentimental and I've kept the base of the bed and I've just changed the mattress. So the legacy continues.
The legacy lives on.
I've still got that bed. I'm about to turn 39. It's just I've just upgraded the mattress now.
There's still many souls trapped
in the bed.
In the lining of that.
It's a bit like when when Freddy Krueger is above the bed, somebody goes to sleep and Freddy Krueger starts pushing out of the wall above the bed, above them. It's a bit like that. When you look at my bed, you can see several souls trying to force their way out. Yeah. But they're trapped in there by my arcane magics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Well, I'm glad you got rid of that.
Yeah.
All I remember
freed up some room
is moving that
and
it smelling so repugnant. This was when you were sleeping on it.
This was quite recently.
Yeah, and this was recently. And this is when you were sleeping on it.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is hideously offensively smelly. Smells like dank mold and death.
You were smelling the bottom of it, though. The top of it didn't smell like that. You were smelling the moldy side.
And I was just like, how can you possibly continue on with this abomination? It was really quite disturbing. And then after that, like in the car that we were in, I was like, ugh,
this stinks. Ugh.
woe betide the poor woman that is next forced to sleep on that mattress.
Yeah. Well, rest its soul. Rest its soul.
Disgusting.
Well, I was actually going to get a new one immediately prior to COVID. I was looking at mattresses immediately prior to COVID, and then all things change, and suddenly a mattress, a new queen size mattress, doesn't seem like such a priority when you've run out of work. And so what do? You just keep that old mattress for another couple of years.
Yeah.
And then I kept it for another 6 months, leaning up against my wall, just to make sure I really wanted to get rid of it.
Just to really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, on DNA-filled mattresses.
Yep.
With more DNA than I have.
Yep.
It is time for us to wrap up this episode of the Guy and Harley podcast. I personally am feeling quite peckish, and I've got to go and watch a Jimmy Savile documentary. I've also got a bunch of work to do that I've been doing today at my computer, so that I haven't finished yet. A bunch of responsibilities.
Yeah, I was really committed to the idea of doing some marking today.
Mm.
And I set aside sort of essentially the 5 hours prior to this podcast, or 4 hours for that marking. And I did absolutely none of it.
Mm. Yep, well, it happens. It happens.
It does happen. And then all you're filled with the regret, not for the time that you wasted, not just for the time that you wasted, but for the knowledge that pain is yet to come.
Mm.
And you could have dealt with that pain.
Mm-hmm.
And you chose not to. You chose to postpone, which only extended
the
suffering.
That's what you're going to be doing tonight.
Yeah, extended the suffering, much like you extended the suffering of that mattress for a good 15 years longer than it should have.
Just a sigh of relief when it fell off. It was just like in Waterworld
Yeah.
when the big ship that the bad guys are rolling around in. The big ship. It's a big oil tanker, and it's got a big sea of oil in there. And there's a person who's obviously a prisoner. He's just, I don't know if he's a prisoner or not, but he doesn't really want to be there. But his job obviously is to, roll around and check how deep the oil is and stuff. And then Kevin Costner shoots something flaming down into the oil, and it sets off a big explosion. And as the explosion rips towards this lowly wretch who lives in the bowels of the ship, he says, "Oh, thank God," before being annihilated.
By being completely blown up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was exactly the same as that for the mattress.
Yeah.
And the mattress was like, "Oh, thank God," and then plunged over the edge into the abyss.
Yeah. So what's hilarious also about that is it's yet another obscure movie reference from like 20 years ago.
And more.
I mean, how the fuck old is Waterworld? This incredibly vivid memory and moment from this obscure fucking film that no one else likes or cares about.
It was in 95.
Waterworld.
It was 27 years ago.
27 years ago.
Good, great film. Great film. It's a good film. I've rewatched a few little bits and pieces here and there on the old YouTubes. It's pretty good. Still good stuff.
On the live stream, we say Jack Black is in Waterworld, apparently.
Well, that's what Callum McDonald is saying on the live stream, so I'd be curious to know who he was in that. He'd be pretty young in it, but, I believe it. And Jamie Oxley says that he hasn't seen any of the Lord of the Rings movies because he made sure he didn't watch any of them because of the Lord of the Rings world that we live in. And I think he's not speaking philosophically here. I think what he's saying is that there was so much marketing for Lord of the Rings, especially around New Zealand, that there was just so much nonsense all day, every day about Lord of the Rings that it had the opposite effect, where he was like, yeah, you know what? Fuck Lord of the Rings. I'm not going to watch it. It's like those people that say, I've never seen an episode of Game of Thrones. They take pride in being contrarian.
Do you want a fucking medal?
Missing
out on one of the greatest series of all time?
Yeah.
Good on you. Congratulations. You've missed out on this life-enriching experience that we've all experienced except you.
Yeah.
Fuck. Oh, you're a real hero, buddy.
Yeah. We're talking about the Lord of the Game of Thrones people here.
Yeah.
Not Jamie Oxley.
Yeah, but also
But maybe Jamie
Lord of the
Oxley
Rings.
too for Lord of the Rings. But yeah, no, shout out to Jamie. You should check it out, mate. It's a good film. The kids will love it. The kids will fucking love it.
They will absolutely love it. They'll get a little bit tired before the end of the third one, but that's okay.
Yeah, break it up with them.
Turn it off when they all stand up in the ceremony.
So Jack Black's got no lines in Waterworld, but he's a pilot of a plane.
Ah, interesting.
Interesting. There you go.
Little tidbit for you Waterworld fans out there, all zero of you.
The things you learn on the Guy and Harley podcast.
So we've learned that dark matter doesn't exist, and that Jack Black had a non-speaking role in Waterworld as a pilot.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's some pretty big revelations here.
It only took an hour and a half as well. So, you guys are really, maximizing your intake of, information by listening to us. So we do appreciate that. And on that note, we will wrap it the hell up.
Also, my girlfriend did also call it before we went Lord of the Kings. And I said, look, you can't be a lord of a king. A king is the highest thing.
Yeah.
So there can't be a lord over the king.
No, not according to the Christians, mate. You've got kings and you've got the Lord above.
Christ our Lord.
The Lord, yeah. The Lord. There's only one.
You can't be a lord of a king. There's lords and ladies.
Lords and ladies
underneath the kings.
Yeah. In medieval terms or in human terms, you're right. You're right.
So there can be no Lord of the Kings.
Yeah. Well, only Jesus.
Apart from Jesus.
Apart from Jesus. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. It's been lovely to see you again. It is time to have something to eat before I get through a major writing sesh.
And I go and watch that dirty pedo Jimmy Savile.
Yeah.
So, thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Oh, what? Ooh, is he? Oh, am I a pedo? Ooh. I also noted just before you hit stop.
I was quoting Tick from Tick History, a World War II YouTuber, but same.
What I noticed, right,
not Jimmy Savile,
is there's a clip of Ricky Gervais interviewing Jimmy Savile, like at the end of his life, where he's kind of, you know, all matey and jokey with him. Obviously, no one knew, right? But what I thought was really interesting...
I'd like to get his take on what he thinks of Savile now.
What I thought was really interesting is that what I saw of Jimmy Savile as a presenter and entertainer, I think Ricky Gervais took for his show Extras, where he plays the star of a sitcom, where he's like, is he having a laugh? Ooh, is he having a laugh?
Yeah.
Was like his signature catchphrase. And I was like... Did you take Savileisms and put it into this shitty sitcom that was part of the show Extras when he blows up and becomes a big star in this sitcom? And to me, his "ooh" was very Jimmy Savile-ish.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's taken some Jimmy Savile and brought that into his own world.
Oh, look, I mean, he was obviously an influential character.
He was.
Who influenced generations of comedians and entertainers, I'm sure.
Well, the other weird thing about Jimmy Savile, like, obviously he was a quick-witted guy, right? You know, he was a quick-witted and, like, he was charismatic. So you can't say he wasn't charismatic. He wouldn't have, you know, attained the heights he did if he wasn't. However, he also appears to be a person with no discernible real talents.
Yeah.
Like, as in, he's not really good looking.
No, because I saw him, said he was the DJ, and I was like, oh, so he plays music or something. And then I was like, wait a minute, it looks like he's just the guy that introduces bands and stuff.
Yeah, like, he's not really good looking. He has no, like, it doesn't have an exceptional skill. You know, like, he's like a great athlete or a great this or a great that. He's a funny entertainer, but he's not like a true, exceptionally gifted comedian. You know, like, all of the things he did was sort of like somewhat mediocre if you gauge the
That's what I mean. He
of,
just seemed like an annoying dickhead. I would hate him if I met him. I'd be like, shut up, man. This guy doesn't shut up.
The level of popularity he attained.
Yeah.
So maybe, you know...
Extroverts, man. Can't handle him.
For the older generation, they can talk about what it was that made Jimmy Savile that guy that they all sort of enjoyed watching. Because, yeah, from what... You know, if you were to now, you'd be like, sorry, mate, you never make it. Because you're not fucking good at anything.
Because you're a lol cow.
And you're a hideous monster. But aside from that...
You're a physically ugly, non-talented lol cow. Jimmy Savile.
But yeah, Ricky Gervais stole Savileisms for his role in Extras. Prove me wrong. Or prove me right. I'm just saying I saw it. And it all clicked when you see the interview between the two.
Yeah. Well, probably you can find some interviews from him around that time being like, oh, this is a dream come true for me that I got to interview him. Which wouldn't have aged very well.
Is he having a laugh?